Welcome, Suhaib. For those people that don't know, Suhaib is one of the people responsible for making this stand happen at GITEX. Him and his team, obviously the marketing team, have done fantastic effort to really make this happen, along with our technical colleagues who have worked tirelessly to put this show on for us. So ultimately, Suhaib, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy at this show, always. With
Thank you,
customers.
Carlos. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. So very quickly, Suhaib, do you want to just introduce your role within Ingram, more so to kind of explain the part you play as opposed to more so just your title as such?
Okay, so at Ingram, currently I work as a position of associate business unit manager, taking care of the unified communications unit. Okay, so we have a very focused unit for unified communications, which mainly talks or deals in Microsoft's vendor devices vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So the likes of HP Poly, Jabra, Logitech. So we work around the UC portfolio. In addition to that, we also have Avaya in the unit.
Okay.
So what makes it interesting, or rather, what's interesting about this unit is that it got formed a couple of years back, and so to emphasize the need of the region that unified communication is one of the technologies or infrastructure areas where Ingram wants to focus.
Yeah.
With having a dedicated unit, it helps us to have a focused strategy around it, to stitch the strategies and stitch our offerings to the reseller community in the region.
And it is important to understand that, because people recognize Ingram Micro generally as a box shifter, right? That's what we've been very successful in doing, and very, very, very competent in doing for many, many, many years. So actually, the fact that we have a different focus now, well, I say a different focus, an additional focus, because we haven't really changed the nature of who we are, what we do. It's more a question of, well, really, what can we add to what we do? How do we essentially enrich our customer offering, our partner offering, so that they've got more to offer to their customers as they consume the technology. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that looks like in the UCC, the modern workplace practices we have in Ingram generally, and how you're sort of expanding that whole journey for our customers, and what that really means internally?
Interesting question there, Carlos. So as you said, in a traditional space or a DIST space, if I may say, so not limiting only to Ingram, there's a portion of it which involves box moving. However, in UC space, there is none so whatsoever as a box moving thing. We have to start from the beginning. So the idea, or the team, what they do, and they have been doing an amazing job all these years, is they start a conversation with a partner from as basic as why your room does not have a video device in it. Why is it not video equipped?
And there are still many, many rooms. As we just found out from Michelle Bowman at Microsoft, still so many meeting rooms that are not video equipped, which is shocking to think.
Oh, it's shocking. It's shocking to say the least. In fact, it's as basic as, and my team's primary job, including myself, is to take this message across to our resellers, and hopefully they'll take this to their end customers, that a room without a device or a video device is not a meeting room.
Correct.
It's a place you can chit-chat among yourselves, but in modern workspaces, in modern times, it's not a room where you can have your meetings.
Well, you're excluding at least 20 to 30% of potential attendees into that meeting room space, because I think the statistic is at least 2 of those people in, say, the average 10-person meeting room will be a virtual participant. So actually, there's a high percentage of people already, which is more. Any percentage of excluded people that lack equity in that meeting room space is unacceptable to me.
Absolutely. And also, it's not only just bringing those people who are sitting remotely to the meeting. It's how they can participate or add value to the meeting. Yeah. I can open my laptop and I can put it on speaker and say, hey, here it's Carlos joining the meeting from England. But how Carlos will add value to it by just being there on a laptop? It does not.
No.
Having Carlos, it's on a laptop, or not having Carlos is the same thing.
Yeah.
With a Microsoft Teams rooms, or using the full capabilities of a room or empty what they provide, in addition, and what our devices make it to do, it's wonderful. You should see how amazing it is and how satisfying it is for us when we see the expressions on our resellers and our end users, when we show them what all a meeting room can be. and where they are right now.
Is something else, right? Really opening people's perspective on things. I like that.
It's
Very
as
good.
simple as that. I'm writing on a whiteboard. You're joining remotely. What you can do with it?
Yeah.
The idea or unifying communications, or what Microsoft expects us, or our devices vendor expects us to do is, or the objective is that you are sitting remotely, but you are as good or are as active participant as you are here.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the markets, actually. This is something that I think is an interesting one. I'm based on the Central EMEA team, so ultimately I have an overall view of what the markets are doing, what each territory represents to us as Ingram Micro, and generally out in the marketplace. So I've got a few statistics. He says, "Whoa." And so let's see what we've got here.
Shoot them away.
Absolutely. Well, I've got some statistics that are generalized over the whole EMEA region, so that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Obviously, there's going to be an interplay between Western Europe and the Middle East. Obviously, we'll exclude Africa from the conversation right now because ultimately that's not your territory, so it would be unfair to ask you to answer on that. But in terms of what we currently see in EMEA, this is the 2023 statistics, so the full year 23, full year 24 is not yet presented, and this is from FutureSource again, who've been very kind to provide the information. So the Teams rooms, so take a look at the overall market share right now for meeting room spaces, and this is not just Teams, this is meeting rooms. So Teams, as we know, has global dominance. The conversation now is completely just finished. No one else can touch them, short of Microsoft doing something intrinsically silly and counterintuitive or counterproductive to their business outlook. Nothing's going to change that until the next iteration of technology, possibly. But if you look at the meeting room spaces, Teams rooms dominate still, with 73% of all meeting room spaces being Teams rooms. And actually, with the onset of Copilot, that's going to become more and more because the others don't have anything to sort of keep up. And if we look at what the competitors are, as much as I hate saying these other words right now, Zoom have 21%, Google have 5%, and the others only represent 1%. So actually, we can pretty much say that Teams has 73%, Zoom has 21%, and everyone else has 6%. Because really, 5% is not really an important thing. In fact, what we've actually seen is that that Zoom has failed to meaningfully expand beyond the UK and the Nordics. So it'd be interesting to understand from you. Do you see a very similar thing in the UAE, in particular, Dubai, obviously where we're based here for the show, in terms of those market stats, or do you see things reflected differently? Are you leaning towards Android bars over Windows? Is it? How does this play out here?
So interesting statistics there, Carlos, and it could be the fact. So in this region particularly, Android bars and BYOD devices are equally popular.
Okay.
So the statistics what you've just thrown at me could be bit tilting towards the mainland Europe or the UK side of the things.
Absolutely right. I think it says here that Android bars most popular in the UK, Western Europe, and Middle East lean towards Windows. So it's very interesting that you say that. So that the UK have really embraced Android, and I think why? Because
so Android bars are equally popular here as well. With Windows, there's more education needs to be imparted, or our research community still is in the, if I may call, the whole idea of meeting rooms or equipping them. We are at a stage where we are educating the resellers on equipping with the device.
So almost at an infancy in that process, right? Yeah.
So the discussions are there. Partners or the resellers who have understood, and the reseller end users who have tasted the blood, if I may say so, of meeting rooms and the capabilities of Microsoft Teams rooms, basically.
Yeah.
They know what all amazing things it can do. But it's just a beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. We have a long way to go, and my team is diligently working with all the devices vendors to take this message across and to have these discussions around Microsoft with the likes of yourself, how involved you are, how invested you are in our Microsoft Teams rooms journey. I'm pretty sure the next year when we'll be sitting here, Carlos, the numbers would be different, and we would be talking about more MTR rooms being driven out through Ingram.
Yeah, I think so. I think the journey that Teams Rooms has taken, in particular, MTR, for those who are unaware, is Microsoft Teams Rooms. The journey that Teams Rooms has taken in terms of their sell-through, as more and more companies try to force their employees back, and we spoke about this on the Microsoft podcast earlier today, that neither Michelle or I believe that that's going to be a tenable exercise. in almost all territories. For the general office worker, obviously there are exceptions to these rules always, but we don't believe they're going to get people back in the office 5 days a week. It's just not tenable, right? I couldn't do my job. Michelle couldn't do his job effectively. We'd have to start dialing back the productivity. But it's interesting you say the numbers, because I'm looking at some stats here that says the video conferencing outlook overall, and this is in hundreds of thousands. We've got here 2025. They're looking at future source have analyzed that's going to be 808,000 devices sold throughout the region. Then with 2026 being 854,000, 27, 952, with 2028, which is as far as this went, with over 1 million devices. So actually you can see there's still significant consistent growth within the video conferencing space.
And if you ask me, Carlos, this will only grow. Because when we reach 2026, 2027, the advancements which we expect the devices vendors to bring in, the current devices will become a legacy device, and you would have to refresh them.
You've got that refresh happening right now to some extent, right? With the onset of AI, all of the native AI enhanced NPU-based solutions.
Exactly.
And the fact that you've got people still haven't actually purchased their refresh equipment after the pandemic.
True.
They're being left behind, technologically speaking. So there's going to have to be some level of that happening for sure. So I agree with you fully on that.
Yeah, and also we need to, another part I missed to add is, part of my team's job is also to understand that what devices go in what rooms. We have been to many rooms, and in this region particularly, we have we fancy bigger boardrooms, the large boardrooms. And when we go there, when my team puts a POC there, we see that the device, it could be a video equipped device or video equipped room, if I may say so there.
Yeah.
But device is not apt for that room. The small huddle rooms have big devices, the big boardrooms have small devices, all those sort of things is happening. So the part of the job, as we have moved away from the box moving and all that, as a distributor, a part of our job is to take this message across to the resellers and tend to the end users that it's not one size fit all.
Absolutely. It never is.
And with Microsoft coming out with their white papers and signature rooms, it helps. And now everyone understands that it could be video equipped. Is it optimally equipped?
Yeah.
If it is, yes, well, good. If it is it the latest one, because as you said, AI advancements are happening.
Absolutely.
So these numbers will only grow. Hybrid will stay.
Hybrid is here.
Hybrid
it's
is
not
here.
Going to stay. Hybrid is here. It's going nowhere, right?
And the only thing which I would love to see is the adoption of MTRs coming to the region.
Yeah. I think we can see more and more of that coming as different vendors achieve their MTR certification from Microsoft. So most recently we had OWL Labs achieving that. There's wonderful things that many other vendors are doing as well, which I'm under NDA and I can't speak about until they've announced.
So we do OWL as well, you know that, you're aware.
Yeah,
but
of course.
For all who do not, but we do OWL. We're the only ones doing OWL in the region.
Shameless plug, everybody. So it's interesting you mentioned about the large meeting room spaces, because statistically speaking, in the other side of the EMEA territory, so Western Europe, Northern Europe, actually it's the medium that leads, with the small meeting room space close behind. And it's actually the large meeting room space is becoming much less of a thing, with a mixture of different age groups, employee number groups, making up what that looks like. Ultimately, I'll see if I can put some information around this when we release this video, in order to be able to sort of enforce that with some information on the data that we're discussing here, because I think it'd be nice and contextual for the viewers to have that. But it is, I think this gives the importance of having a local distributor within any region, and Ingram Micro having the global reach that it does provides that local knowledge. You just captioned it perfectly. The fact that the information that we're seeing for the overall EMEA region actually is slightly misleading when you look at it on a local level, because on a very local level, it really does look the opposite almost. I'm sure there's obviously similarities there, it goes without saying, right? And an overall view from any analyst source is always going to have a few caveats involved with that.
Of course.
That's why it's critical to have somebody like an Ingram Micro in the territory, helping our partners to understand what that looks like, helping them to grow their business, their modern workplace practice, which will encompass a lot more than just the meeting room space. You've got the Pro AV side of things, the cloud licensing, There's lots besides that we look at there. So I think this is where Ingram Micro adds a lot of value to our partners, and we'll be having conversations with one of the biggest partners in the region tomorrow, in fact, to ask them what it means to them to have a distributor like Ingram Micro in their pocket, and to have their backs essentially. But so do you agree with me on that, or do you take a different view in terms of the importance that we play regionally?
I completely agree, 100% with you on that. Also, the fact that within Ingram Micro, under our umbrella, we have all different sorts of vendors, which bring to the table different capabilities and abilities and offerings. So a vendor like Owl, when we introduced Owl here a year back, it was like a new name. No one knew much about Owl in the region, but we thought that it's an interesting vendor to be associated with in the region, and also complements many other things. They were not even Microsoft Team Room certified back then. They are now.
Yeah. But they were doing some cool stuff though, weren't they?
They are. The Owl has a character of its own, the tabletop 360-degree device. We also have vendors, Jabra, Logi, Poly. They bring to the table the large, medium, huddle room. All sorts of rooms are being catered to. So at Ingram Micro, working diligently, as I said, as close as possible to the reseller community, I think we have made good progress in past couple of years. We have only positive things to look forward. 2025 looks an interesting year for UCC, for Ingram Micro. And also because all our vendors are highly motivated to bring new AI stuff.
Yeah,
they are adding new AI things. AI is the cool word now.
It's a very cool word, and we've said with Microsoft, they have to mention Copilot 13 times of any conversation, or somebody in Microsoft gets fired. I think we're very similar, right? We need to talk about AI with everything. I wish we had more time to really go and delve into that AI rabbit hole, because it is such an expansive discussion. So maybe this is something else that we post about in after the show, essentially. But
or maybe next year when we sit again, Carlos, we can have discussions on the success stories of both
AI,
Microsoft Teams Rooms and AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really true. So everybody shares the optimism. So all the market analysts are sharing the optimism for the back end of 2024, and very much so for 2025 in terms of market optimism, market growth. We've seen the statistics. We've seen how there are regional changes that you need a trusted partner, distribution partner in the region to help you understand that, to help you navigate that. So for me, the value that Ingram offers to our partners is actually sometimes immeasurable. And the fact that you guys have a really good grasp on what's happening regionally, that's value that you can't put a finger on, right? Yeah. So, well, look, Suhaib, very conscious that we've got people waiting outside the door. We've got to be respectful to other people's time as well.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time. You're so busy on this show, and so I really respect that. Thank you, and look forward to another one. Definitely.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Carlos.